as I've heard, my name is not in the mix for the smaller options. I don't think they would ever use me as a stepping stone for a bigger fight. I'm the biggest fight in the middleweight division for sure. The most fan-friendly option, I think, for Canelo. So I'm sure the fight will.
Those are some words from Chris Eubank Jr. And Chris Eubank has said that he is targeting a fight with Canelo Alvarez in the near future. The 30-year-old middleweight and super middleweight contender recorded the biggest win of his career in 2019 as he beat his rival, his bitter rival, James DeGale in London, making DeGale quit. Miguel hasn't been heard from ever since. Okay, and following from that victory, Eubank Jr. dropped back down to middleweight for a bout with Matt Korobov. The Brit won in frustrating circumstances, as after just 2 rounds, his opponent suffered a shoulder injury and could not continue. Canelo was due to face Billy Joe Saunders on May 2nd, but the bout was scrapped by the coronavirus pandemic days before it was set to be officially announced. Now it's understood that the Mexican is exploring other options, right? So, possible doors from Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank said, with Canelo, that is a fight I'm gunning for, and I've been saying it for the longest time. In an ideal world, I would not want to fight him in a non-crowd event, but that's the question. Do you take what you can get? I don't really think I'm that kind of fighter. I'm the #1 contender in the WBA, so it's not like I'm not there. It's a tough one because I do really want that fight, but I feel like the fans would get robbed. There are people who would want to be there to watch that. That's an arena fight, a stadium fight. But then again, I'm there to win the belts. I'm there to win and to fight big fights. He says, that's such a huge fight, a hard fight. It isn't easy. It's a dangerous fight, so you want to be rewarded for it. As far as I've heard, my name is not in the mix, okay, for the smaller option. I don't think they would ever use me as a stepping stone for a bigger fight. I think I am the biggest fight in the middleweight division, for sure. The most fan-friendly option, I think, for Canelo. Of course, this is what Chris Eubank Jr. would say. He would think. He's supposed to think. He's supposed to say. And it's been a while since I've heard from Chris Eubank Jr. I know he's been training down there with Roy. And, you know, some people said he's not making progress. But, you know, you got to give the benefit of the doubt, because if you just started, you know, you got to see where a person's at. We got to see how he progresses. But fighting someone like Canelo Alvarez is the big deal. Okay, that's the fight you want to get. And if he signed with PBC, he has to do whatever he has to do to get that fight. Like he asked, hey, you got to take what you can get. If it's not a crowd fight, does he still take it? Sure he does. Why not? You know, be the first, or some of the first fighters to involve yourself in a crowdless fight. It's a protocol experimental fight, but then again, you still get the fight with Canelo, right? So I think Chris Eubank Jr. is calling out Canelo Alvarez because he knows, and I think he's like other fighters that's hungry to get in there. So I think, honestly, he can take what he can get. Now, he did mention that he doesn't think that Billy Joe Saunders deserves the fight, and he calls him a lowlife. Okay, well, those guys have been rivals. Those dudes fought before to a very close fight, I feel. And I think, you know, he's just trying to steal Billy Joe's thunder. You know, hey, if this guy's acting out of sorts, right, and putting himself in a situation where he can lose the fight, I can replace him in the fight. And by the way, I hate the guy. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things with Chris Eubank Jr. He's trying to get in where he can fit in. You know, I think him going to 168, you know, was a hit and miss. You know, he went up there and he got beat at first. Then he beat his rival. So it looks good. It looks like a positive suggestion, you know, because Chris Eubank Jr. is the type of guy with the type of style that would definitely give a good fight for Canelo. And I see a guy like Chris Eubank Jr. fighting Canelo is, openings, openings, openings. Okay? Because Chris Eubank Jr. with the uppercuts and the hooks and the way he likes to throw it, you know, I do want to see what he does, what he can do with Canelo. It'll kind of put you in the mind of James Kirkland in a sense, but not as sloppy because he's not as sluggish. He does have more skill set, I feel. But the way he throws punches and with the intensity, with the aggression, I think it gives Canelo a lot of opportunity. So just looking at that fight, I could imagine Canelo Alvarez's team looking at that and like, look, this guy does come forward. You know, this guy can bring on and create a pretty decent fight for me. So, you know, I'm glad that he's putting his 2 cents in there for a possible fight with Canelo Alvarez. But other than that, you know, it's just something, it's a projection. It's nothing really set in stone. And it's just something that he wants in the future. So, you know, he's just putting his bid in, planting his seed. So you guys tell me what you think about Chris Eubank Jr. taking on Canelo Alvarez. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.